wants Santa. Who wants the other one anymore? Blend new beliefs with science, add credibility, redefine words. Oh, you have all these fancy words coming in and such stupid ones like holiness, stuff like that. Provide mystic experiences that contradict old beliefs, immerse students in enticing forms of new beliefs, use target beliefs, and demand purity. And there's the catch. You have to be good, you have to be pure, you have to present Lucifer. Well, here is the religious world, how it responds to these teachings. The liberal Catholic Church teaches shamanic activities, teaches karma, teaches reincarnation. The Catholic Mass has these words, which translated mean, "O blessed fault which didst procure such a Redeemer." So the sin is glorified. And Mormonism taught the same thing. Mormonism taught that through the what of sin? The gift of sin, we can achieve godhood. Mother Teresa, she is made out in the world to be the ultimate form. And I'm not saying anything negative here, I'm just saying what she says. She says, "Oh, I hope I am converting." I don't mean what you think, what she said before she died. If in the coming face to face with God we accept Him in our lives, then we are converting. We become a better Hindu, a better Muslim, a better Catholic, a better whatever we are. What approach would I use? For me it would be Catholic, for you it might be Hindu, someone else Buddhist. What God is in your mind, you must accept. Is that devil language or God language? That's devil language. And I don't care who it comes from, it's devil language. And it's teaching that all religions are equally divinely inspired. That is why a Catholic priest can have yen for Zen Buddhism. Who cares? It's one and the same thing. The Pope is the high priest of Buddhism, of Hinduism, of Islam, of all the earth religions. He is the high priest of occultism in the world today. And the Dalai Lama has no problem in acknowledging them. Peace Prize winners, we must merge the ethical and the practical, the political and the priests. Church and state must come together. The sacred and the secular. This was the theme of the Global Conference of Spiritual Parliamentary Leaders of the Human Survival at Oxford. And since that day, it has culminated until at the end of last year in New York, it reached its heyday. Robert Runcie was there at the first one, Koenig, Dalai Lama, Catholics, Muslims, all the religions of the world coming together. Now, this is an interesting article. Where does it come from? It's an article that appeared in the Belgian national newspaper, Le Soir, dated 30th August 2000. And the author is Christian Laporte. I have to give you these things in detail, otherwise people will say I'm going nuts. A general rehearsal is taking place at the highest level in a forum where the Supreme Being, Grand Architect, by the way, those are Masonic terms, of Lucifer, or watchmaker of the universe, if he exists at all, this guy is writing facetiously about this, is to recognize his own. At a time when the United Nations will shortly host the summit of the millennium, with the presence of the heads of state of the entire world, please note, the presence of the heads of states of the entire world, all the world's religious leaders have been gathered in New York to discuss the most important theme of the world, peace and tolerance. The more distant objective to create a kind of United Nations of faith, where the representatives of faith and philosophies could meet, and in order to discuss the future together, whilst abandoning their fatwas, theses, other terrible arms, blah, 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 and relegating them to the cloakroom. This is a very noble ecumenical initiative, with the widest possible meaning having been called into being despite the lack of initiative of the United Nations by Ted Turner. Ooh, interesting. Ted Turner. He financed it. He's a very rich man. He was the founder of CNN. You know that, don't you? Yes, he was married to James Fonda, who funded the initiative. He is the vice president of Time Warner Incorporated and founder of CNN. For every sin there is grace, writes this writer. 10 years ago, the flamboyant boss of instantaneous television had declared that Christianity was nothing but an affair for losers and freaks. Now let me tell you something else about him. This man, considering where he is, must be way up there in the hierarchy. And then, If I look at what he is funding, then I must assume that he is part of this hierarchy who, with the United Nations, who is hosting this organization, has who enthroned as the God of the universe? Lucifer. No wonder he can say that Christianity is an affair for losers and freaks, because he has another God, and this is eyewash. Funding the various religions of the world to become one is an objective of Freemasonry. They must all become one, but you can only become one if Jesus is out of the equation. So these are Luciferian initiatives. This man, the Dalai Lama, is another God man. It's interesting that he's the reincarnation of the original Lama, but in case he should die, the next one is already born. This reincarnation must be very confused, not knowing whether to live in this one or this one at the same time. What a load of rubbish they teach. Isn't it incredible? By the way, he is giving a Masonic signal picture, and he's called by Time magazine God King. And of course he receives a peace prize. And Buddhism and papacy are one and the same. Christianity teaches that I will give you life, and I will give you life to the full. Christ wants to fill you. Buddhism teaches empty yourself until you are nothing. You float and you go. Pathetic. And to reach nirvana is to reach the ultimate state of nothingness. I don't want to reach nirvana. I don't want to be nothing. They promise you paradise and you get nothing in return. And the West runs after it, light out of the East. This man over here is my pet aversion, and my wife always reprimands me and pinches me after this lecture because I just cannot control myself, but I will today. This nice man over here, his name is Sai Baba, and it says here in this German magazine, twice daily appears the Almighty God Sai Baba, and people fall down and worship him. Here he is with his little flower and his little golden car, and he has this huge center of portraying all the religions of the world. He has a solid gold car, and he has worshippers all over the world. Here is should be a countryman of mine, because I'm German too, and he's sitting here in this corner, this German, praying to Sai Baba. I want to shake him, you know. I want to pick this guy up and say, "What, you gone nuts? What are you doing praying to that guy?" Oh, I said I'd control myself, sorry. And this one is another one. Here you have the Hare Krishna's main leader. His name is His Divine Grace. And then I can never pronounce this name. It's Pachi Devatata Savamideta Prabhabla Puba or something like that. And he's God. This is teaching the doctrine of devils, that man is divine. They teach that you must live in absolute poverty unless you're as rich as George Harrison was, then you can be a member. Norman Vincent Peale, that should shock you. That should knock your socks off. That's the great religious leader of our time. This is the one where Billy Graham said, "I admire him more than anyone else." Wow. Norman Vincent Peale is a 33-degree Freemason by his own admission. Freemasonry has always welcomed men of all faiths. This is Norman Vincent Peale, the great Christian leader. And religious beliefs to enter its doors. The only requirement is for good men to believe in the supreme architect. Hello? That's Lucifer. That's Lucifer. And the immortality of the soul. That's devil doctrine. Did you know that? This comes from the Masonic Scottish Rite Journal 33rd Degree magazine. You cannot go wrong here. So in other words, these great preachers are worshippers of Lucifer behind the scenes. Masons in fact go beyond the narrow sectarian and limiting dogma. They agree with the statement of the famous statement writer Edmund Burke, "The body of all true religion consists, to be sure, in the obedience to the will of the sovereign of the world," another acronym for Lucifer, "in the confidence in his declarations and in imitation of his perfection." Now I'm running ahead of myself. I will still prove to